I don't have a button to do that, do I? Oh, is the pre-show button, is that? I am.
Very good.
There
All
I go
right.
live. No, I don't hear
Excellent.
the music in Mimo Live, Steve.
Really? Oh, okay.
No, it
That's
doesn't
interesting.
broadcast back to me.
Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Podfeet.
Oh, I hope everybody likes it. I'm still wearing the Post-it note on my 15-year T-shirt.
15 plus 2.
15 plus 2. Oh, I hope I
Nice
keep you awake
prime
too,
number.
Steve. We'll be talking about Steve, so that always keeps you awake, Kevin. Where's Alan? Uh-oh,
He
I
was
got a
in
roll
here
call from
earlier.
Jason.
He was here, I think. Maybe
I didn't see him.
He ducked out. Oh, he's in the
Well,
sidebar. Alan,
Okay, well, it
are you
looks like
here?
Jason took over for roll call.
All right.
Are we ready? We've got Seamus and Kevin and Bill and Bruce and Jason and Frank and Mike and Jill and John and Sandy. And I know Rose is here. We haven't seen Frank in a while.
Wheels?
Anybody else in the sidebar? Yeah, where's Wheels?
Yeah.
Haven't seen him lately.
All right.
All right, tell me if you guys can hear music. All right, music is up.
Yeah, it's good.
I think I'm ready.
Amazing.
Let's see, I think I've started doing this and this over here and then this over here, and that helps. That works there.
There's Alan.
Too late, Alan. You missed roll call. We did it without you. 1 minute late. Sorry about that, Alan. All right, muting Steve. I just used the keystroke for ScreenFlow. Doesn't work. Failed to start record. No tracks are enabled. Boy, it's like I'm new here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. A technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, June 12th, 2022, and this is show number 892. All right, we're going to put a chapter mark in right away. All right. Copy link. Copy.
Hey.
And it worked.
It worked.
No idea why it wasn't last week, but who knows? All right, let me save this and see. Yep. There we go. All right. Now let's talk about Steve. Before we get started with the usual NosillaCast content, I wanted to tell you about a terrific daily tech news show special that was just released. It's a solar panel roundtable hosted by Tom Merritt and Sarah Lane. They had as guests on their panel Joe Briney, Brian Hoffman, and none other than our very own Steve Sheridan. Tom and Sarah asked the panel about the costs and considerations that someone needs to consider before they take the plunge into solar, and to share their experience and expertise with installing solar panels and how much of a difference it's actually made. Now, of course, I'm biased, but I thought this episode was awesome. When Steve was done with the panel, he was on a huge high because he had such a blast doing it. But he was also very enthusiastic about getting hold of Brian Hoffman via email to ask him a whole lot more questions about his solar setup. You see, Brian didn't pay someone to install his solar systems. He built them himself. His story is so extraordinary that next week's Chit Chat Across the Pond will be Steve and I interviewing Brian about his farm, his trees, his tilapia, and how solar ties all of this together. But first, head on over to dailytechnewsshow.com to hear the solar panel, or better yet, subscribe to the Daily Tech News Show in your podcatcher of choice. By the way, this special was released way earlier just for DTNS patrons. So if you dig DTNS, become a patron like me. Yay, Steve.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Your solar system means that my last electric bill was minus $28. Nice.
Cool. That's Seamus, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. We're kind of in that situation now too. Although, so Seamus, I don't know how your utility does it, but ours accumulates costs and credits over a full year before we pay or get credit. So we're getting bills, but the bills are not payable, and they're showing credits, which is really cool.
It is fun. Especially since, oh, they gave us back credit. They didn't give us credit for a couple of months right after we first got it installed. And they gave us back credit, and it was over $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tilapia.
That was nice.
The tilapia part of the discussion is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I love tilapia. Yeah, there's. I won't spoil
Jason's listened.
It's great. And to anybody who didn't hear this when they first came in, I've also got already recorded in the can, recording Seamus talking about Quaid and his guide dog experiences. So that's going to be a really great episode.
It will.
All right. Okay, muting Steve. Speaking of Chit Chat Across the Pond, this week our guest is Bart Busschots, and it's something entirely different. We did an Ask Me Anything about security. I sent out the request for questions to our Slack community, to Twitter, to a few user groups of which I'm a member, and Steve posted it to our Facebook group. With the exception of one question, which I sent to Bart ahead of time, Bart answered all of these questions on the fly while we were recording. For that reason, only the questions are available. In order to know his answers, you're going to have to listen to the show. It was a fantastic episode. I had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. The episode is number 732 of Chit Chat Across the Pond, and it's in the Chit Chat Across the Pond Light feed, and of course, the overarching Chit Chat Across the Pond feed, which you can find where? In your podcatcher of choice. Quaid says hi. We're going to always need Quaid pictures now.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you hear snoring in the background, I apologize, but Tesla forgot her breathe rate strips.
That joke never gets old, huh? All right, I'm going to do this long one next. Probably going to get out early tonight, though. I only wrote up 2 segments. And that's good because my voice is all gravelly. If I really push it, I can make it not make gravelly noises. But if I just even slow down a little bit, it sounds like this. So that's not good.
NosillaCast Live, the musical.
All right. Oh, Bruce is doing the math. If you need some help with the math, Bruce, I know you're not very good at doing the scientific trade-offs and stuff. I could help you. All right. Oh, Quaid.
Oh, Quaid.
You turned yourself back on. What did Quaid eat?
Oh my goodness. What was
What
that?
is it? What is it? Steve, you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, because I wanted to find out about Quaid. Something didn't make it. Toilet roll. Okay.
No. All right, muting you, dear. Okay, Seamus. Quit being so entertaining for Steve. I know a couple of obsessive engineers who can check my work. Yeah, that'd be fun to help you. All right, here we go. Why did the 3-up video just turn white, Steve? There it is. Yeah, I think so. Oh, I haven't muted you in Mimo Live. Wait, no. Which one is it I mute you in? Maybe I haven't muted you in Discord. Okay, I muted you in Discord. Sorry, while you were explaining it to me. Okay, here we go. I got a thank you note from a relative of mine recently for a blanket I knitted for her new baby. It was the first time I'd seen her beautiful handwriting, and my first thought was, I'd like a font like that. That got me to wondering whether there might be services that would allow you to make a font out of your handwriting. I was delighted to discover that they do indeed exist, and I've had great fun this week with one of the services called Calligrapher at calligrapher.com, and it's spelled like calligrapher except missing the E before the ending R. This idea wasn't one into which I was planning on investing my hard-earned money, but as Bart has taught us, it's a good idea to understand the business plan of any service you employ. Calligrapher has a freemium business plan, meaning you can get a free account and have a lot of fun, but if you start wanting to make lots of fonts and get extra features, you'll need to upgrade to the paid plan, and I'll talk towards the end about some of the things you get with the paid plan. To create a font of your own, you download a template file for the language of your choosing. They have English, German, French, Spanish, and Japanese. I started stuttering there because I was trying to think about whether to say... Michael says it's not really all Japanese, it's just like some Japanese. Upgrade to the paid plan, and I'll talk towards the end about some of the things you get with the paid plan. To create a font of your own, you download a template file for the language of your choosing. They have English, German, French, Spanish, and Japanese. Now, Michael Westbay is in Japan, and he tested the Japanese fonts, and I'm not good at ad-libbing. I'm just going to say it the way it says it. To create a font of your own, you download a template file for the language of your choosing. They have English, German, French, Spanish, and they say Japanese. The template you download is like a little kid's primer to teach them how to write their letters. You have squares with each of the letters in alphabetical order in uppercase and then lowercase, along with a few punctuation marks. You can choose to have the squares blank with a little guide letter above each one telling you what you're supposed to write, or you can have them print the letters very faintly where you're supposed to write them. I went with that second option. After downloading the template, you print it out and then handwrite over each letter in your own handwriting. There are little guidelines inside the squares, just like the ones for little kids learning the alphabet. I sort of paid attention to those guidelines, but maybe not as much as I probably should have, and I'll explain why in a minute. After you're finished writing this like someone in grade 2, you scan the paper back in and upload it to Calligrapher. The paper has 4 little markers on the corners that need to be included as a reference. After you upload and save your letters with a name, the next step is to build your font. At this point, you can see the characters as they will look when you get to use them. Evidently, in font speak, the characters in a font are called glyphs. And I'll try to remember to call them that from now on, but I might call them characters from time to time. Now, for some reason, the scan upload process sometimes creates little dots and small lines, kind of like a noise from the scan. If you select one of your glyphs, you're given the opportunity to clean things up in a little graphic editor window. I use the eraser a lot to remove the bits of noise, but you can also use one of the 6 brushes to smooth things out or add to the glyphs to make them more to your liking. There's nothing like looking at your handwriting zoomed up to this level to make you realize how truly awful your handwriting is. Now, the one tricky bit of the interface is that the eraser looks like a trash can, and it's also a toggle. So if the trash can is highlighted, then all of the brush options you see are erasers. If the trash can is not highlighted, then all of the brush shapes are actually brushes. The interface for editing your letters is very easy and intuitive. It was time-consuming, but it was not difficult. The time it takes you to clean up your glyphs is all a function of how long you want to spend time cleaning them up. When you've completed cleaning up your glyphs, the next step is to build your font again. The process only takes a few seconds, and then you'll see your fancy new font used in some random text that appears to be a mix of Moby Dick and Alice in Wonderland. At least that's what I think it is, because it has Ahab and Alice in it. Now, if you're satisfied, or at least impatient, it's time to download your font. You won't see a download button, which is a little confusing. Instead, you'll see 2 links for 2 different font download options, .ttf and .otf. Make Use Of has a great explanation of the 2 formats. TTF stands for True Type Fonts, and OTF stands for Open Type Font. I didn't really understand the implications of the 2 options very well, but OTF is the new hotness, and they use the word glyph with it, so that's probably the one we want. I tested both, and they looked identical to me, but newer has to be better, right? Now, installing downloaded fonts is super easy on the Mac. Simply double-click on the font file, and it will automatically launch an app called FontBook. If you're not familiar with FontBook, it's buried inside your Applications Utilities folder. FontBook will offer to install the font, and you're done. As soon as I had the highly coveted Allison Sheridan font installed, I popped open TextEdit, changed to the Allison Sheridan font, and started to type. I have to say that it is seriously freaky to type and yet see your own handwriting spitting out on screen. After I got over the shock of how easily I was able to make a font for my own handwriting, I started to look more closely at it. I noticed that some of my letters seemed kind of sunken down a bit, while others were somewhat higher. Now, remember I said there were guidelines that I should have paid more attention to? I was going to start over and be more careful with my lettering, but I was worried that I'd be too careful and it wouldn't accurately reflect my sloppy jalopy handwriting. Then I discovered that you could do more than edit the character. You can adjust what they call the baseline and size of your character, or glyph we should be calling it. To get to these options, first select your font from My Fonts. Then you'll see each of your glyphs with an option to delete them individually for a do-over. If you select one of the glyphs, you'll see the alphabet on the left sidebar, and you can select a specific letter. At this point, you'll have options to get back into the pixel editor where we were before, but you'll also see the option to adjust the baseline and size. The two functions you're going to perform in this tool are to raise and lower each glyph till it lands on the bottom guideline, and then to increase or decrease its relative size compared to the other glyphs you've created. They give you little buttons to move and adjust the glyphs by just 1% or bigger steps of 5%, or you can use keyboard shortcuts to do the same thing. Now, while you're adjusting a particular glyph, such as, let's say, the capital A, it might be helpful to see what it looks like next to different characters. It's hardly ever next to a capital B, so you can use the right-left arrow keys to compare to any of the other glyphs you've imported. You can even shuffle it so you see all different letters. When you're done editing one glyph for size and baseline, you can simply select another one and keep editing. As you can imagine, this is an iterative process. That lowercase g looks too small next to the C, so let's embiggen the G, but wait, now the H looks too big compared to the C. So just like editing at the pixel level for your glyphs, you can spend as much time changing the baseline and size as you have to spend. When you've run out of time, don't forget to tap Save Adjustments to retain your hard work. Once you've spent quality time editing at the pixel level, moving your glyphs up and down, and resizing them, you're ready to rebuild your font. You'll be delighted to see how much better it looks with the glyphs aligned and sized. But you'll probably notice that when written into words and sentences, the spacing between your letters and words isn't quite right. In fact, my letters, were way too far apart in the words. I then discovered yet another tool called Edit Font Details. Luckily, this tool is pretty simple. You get a slider to change the letter spacing, font size, and word spacing. It's a little bit iterative because you change the spacing and build the font, change the spacing, build the font, rinse and repeat until it looks good to you. Now, I set my font size to 120%, my letter spacing to 85%, and I left the word spacing at 100%. It looked a lot better, especially the alignment of the characters. The words were a bit too close together, so I went in to adjust that, and it didn't give me a percentage. For some reason, that slider doesn't, but I slid it some anyway. And then something odd happened. I got all X's for the preview of my font. I couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I logged out and back in, and my font was back. I ended up dragging the character spacing to 50%, and it looks just about perfect now. I did still have the X's, or I should say the X's came back instead of my font showing in that web tool again, but I exported it anyway, and it was just fine. So evidently, that's just a little bug in the tool. I do have to say, Calligrapher is addictive. I had a great looking font in my handwriting, and I could have stopped. But then I started thinking, wow, it'd be cool to have numbers in addition to letters. When I downloaded the original template, it was just the letters and those few special characters I mentioned. I discovered that they have way more templates than I set up front. They've got mathematical symbols, currencies, Latin, Cyrillic, and Greek, to name a few. One of the templates was called Minimal Numbers. When I selected the Minimal Numbers template, I was alerted to the fact that I was about to run into my first limitation of the free account. You see, free accounts can have up to 75 glyphs, but the addition of the Minimal Numbers set, which includes some other characters like plus, minus, and ampersand, that adds up to 79. If you download the template and just fill in the essential glyphs, I was able to do all the numbers plus a couple of more characters, and then you scan it in, you can click the trash can on the ones you don't need, and then you can import the new glyphs and stay under that 75 glyph limit. After my 10th iteration on my font, I happened to start reading the FAQs, which are really like a user manual, and I discovered that you get much cleaner scans if you scan in color or grayscale rather than monochrome. Remember that noise, those little bits of noise I said I had to clean up? I had scanned in black and white, and they say grayscale or color would be better. Well, I was finally ready to start using my fancy new handwriting font. I realized pretty quickly that this will be primarily for my own entertainment. For example, I changed to my handwriting font in Apple Mail, started a new email, and I squealed with delight. But then I realized that the email I just received from Steve was also in my own handwriting. Boy, was that weird. Well, I'm sure you've all realized it, but I was kind of slow in the uptake. My emails won't be received in my font. They'll be received in whatever font the person on the other end has chosen. Again, very weird to see Steve writing to me in my handwriting. Now, I do have a very important use for my new font. I like to write handwritten letters to people. Often they're thank you notes, but sometimes they're just letters of encouragement if a friend is feeling blue. Because we never write paper mail to people, these handwritten notes often have a big impact because they're so unusual. My mother-in-law in particular really appreciates them. The main problem to be solved is that I write by hand so infrequently, though, that my hand cramps up after just a few lines. I'm also so out of shape at writing by hand that sometimes my hand just sort of flails and I'll get as many as 4 humps on an M. And remember, typos, I don't know what else to call them, rightos. Anyway, those still happen when you write by hand. What do? Do you scratch it out? Do you try to write over it? Start the whole letter over again? Well, there's also the problem of reading something over that you've written and realizing, man, you didn't really say it the way you wanted. Basically, these are all the reasons we type instead of writing by hand. My solution up until now has been to use Apple Pencil on the iPad Pro in the app Notability to handwrite my notes, and then I print them out. The advantage of writing in Notability is that I can have lined paper, if you will, while I'm writing, so my writing doesn't slide down to the right like a psycho, but then I can turn the lines off when it's time to print. I can also use the lasso to grab a set of lines and move them down to add a thought or maybe erase a single 4-humped M. It's been a pretty good solution, but my hand does still get cramped. But now, with my fancy pants, much coveted Allison Sheridan font, I can type out my letters of encouragement, maybe choose blue for the color and print it out on my pretty stationery, and it will look handwritten. Only my mother-in-law will figure out what I've done because she has saved my letters, and she will surely notice that my letters are oddly consistent when my true handwriting is all wibbly-wobbly. There's another use for it that I'm testing out. I wrote an article entitled Write by Hand When You Need to Think, in which I explained that using plain old paper and a pencil can be a way better way to just kind of barf your ideas out rather than trying to do it while typing. I definitely use this technique when I'm coding, but rather than paper and a pencil, I use iPad with pencil and my friend Notability. And that does work, and I'm definitely going to keep doing it that way when I really need to think. But sometimes I think of something when I'm sitting at my Mac, and I just want to jot it down really quick, and it's about a development project. I'll open Notability on the Mac, and I'll type in my thought. These typewritten sections are jarring when I go back to look at them on my iPad, and for some reason they're just harder for me to scan through when I'm looking for an idea that I remember writing down. I'm hoping I can now have the best of both worlds by typing in my own handwriting when I do let myself write from a keyboard. I'm going to have to resist doing this often, though, because it absolutely violates the write by hand when you need to think first principle. Now, at this point in the plot, I was having such great fun with my font that I really wanted to use it on my iPad, too. I vaguely remembered that Apple had created some backhanded way to add fonts to iOS, so I went hunting. 9to5Mac has a really good article on how to use custom fonts on iPhone and iPad, so I studied up. It is as backhanded as I'd remembered. You have to first install a third-party app onto your iOS device, then you tell the app what font you want to download, and the font app will install a profile under your iOS device to allow the OS to see the font. Profiles are like those things that you get with VPNs. The app you want to use also has to have, the app where you want to type with this new font has to have support for custom fonts. As janky as all that sounds, you know I had to try it. I tried out a few of these font apps, and while they would let you add fonts to iOS, some were restricted to services such as Google Fonts. Now, don't get me wrong, that's really cool, but I needed one that would allow me to import a custom font. I also stumbled across one that had an exorbitant weekly fee. I think it was like $5 a week. Anyway, the 9to5 article suggested an app called iFont, which will allow you to import 5 fonts for free, and you can point to iCloud or Dropbox to get the font. I followed the clear instructions in iFont, and to my delight, I now have my handwriting font on my iPad. Very, very cool. Now, you might be wondering at this point what other advantages you might get with a subscription fee for Calligrapher. Before explaining, you can buy a cup of Calligrapher for $8 for 1 month, and you have your font forever after using those advanced features. I mentioned the 75-character limit of the free plan. With the paid plan, you can have 480 characters. That's kind of bananas. With the free plan, you can create unlimited fonts. Actually, I'm going to say that again. That's where I'm going to go Japan. I mentioned this. Need a sip anyway. I mentioned the 75 character limit of the free plan, and with the paid plan, you can have 480 characters. That's bananas. Well, unless you're trying to write in Japanese, of course. With the free plan, you can create unlimited fonts, but you can only have one that you're working on concurrently. So you can work on one, get it done, delete it, start another one. If you're sure you're happy with that font, that's going to be okay. But you won't be able to edit that original font. If you get addicted like I am, you'll start noticing, oh, that Y looks a little bit funny, and that ampersand is totally wrong, and keep wanting to edit. So I have a hard time picturing when I'm going to be actually done. Calligrapher allows you to create variants of letters as well. I dragged Sandy into my madness for a short time, and in a share screen session, I showed her how to import her own handwriting and start editing it. Her first attempt was to use script handwriting, and it was, I would say, a disaster. The problem with script is that each character, or glyph, needs to know what the following character is going to be in order to know what it should look like. Or maybe it's the next character needs to know what the previous character was. Anyway, for example, if a lowercase o is followed by an I, the I has to know to start at its top point rather than on the baseline. Similarly, if the O is followed by an S, the S must start in midair instead of on the baseline. When I heard about this variant option in Calligrapher, I thought maybe that's how you do script, but they explained that the variants are just sprinkled in randomly. I guess it was naive of me to think that a font could have the embedded intelligence to decide what to look like based on the next character. In any case, if you like the idea of having a lot of random variations to each character, you can have 15 with the paid plan, but only 2 with the free plan. Now, I'm tempted to buy a month of Calligrapher for one specific feature. The 8 in my font has a spacing issue. It's like it's shoved to the right of the space it takes up. The one I created is as thin as one would expect, but it also has essentially no space on either side of it. You can adjust letter spacing for single characters only with the paid-for plan. There's other advantages of the subscription for Calligrapher, like the ability to have ligatures, but I had to go look up ligatures to see what that even means. I'll leave it to you to investigate the pricing further and to see whether you need it. Then I got to wondering what would happen to my font if I upgraded and then I let the monthly fee expire. When you have a free plan, the data about the font is stored in your browser. They explain that your font info will remain in the browser for some time, but they'll eventually clear the data out of the cache and you will lose your work. Actually, I don't know whether they're the ones doing it. They say that Safari does it as soon as a week, while Firefox and Chrome save it for around 2 months. So do you feel lucky about losing it? I tested this explanation by logging into my Calligrapher account with Microsoft Edge, and sure enough, I have no font stored in my logged-in account. It's important to note that your downloaded OTF or TTF files that you create with Calligrapher still exist, and you can continue to use them forever on your Mac and iPad. But once the browser clears the data, you won't be able to make further edits. If you get really serious about making your own fonts, you could cut the monthly cost in half to $4 per month if you upgrade to a 6-month plan. I might be done in 6 months. Anyway, the bottom line is that I had a lot of fun making my own font and learning how to use Calligrapher. I love having my own handwriting font, and I'm using it everywhere I can just for the sheer fun of it. I need to find an excuse to write a note to my mother-in-law now because she'll love it. If you would like to have a font of your handwriting or someone else's handwriting who you admire and you can get to fill out the template, and you have hours and hours to dedicate to perfecting it, head on over to calligrapher.com and have some fun. Well, look at that. That last link is incorrect. I misspelled calligrapher.
So Frank did join us.
Good. I'm the only one who noticed Frank wasn't here, Frank.
Well, we all chimed in when we noticed.
Yeah. They don't love you like I do. Nice to see you, Frank. Michael, did you show anybody what you did? You should show, it's a gift to be able to see what's not there. Let's see, tiny tips. Frank or Michael, you should do a screenshot of your or show the screenshot of what you did with Calligrapher. Kind of blows mine out of the water if you didn't already. All right. Give me a screenshot. Copy link. Copy. Oh, it made that funny noise. I was getting nervous.
Seemed to work.
Look at that. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Slightly cooler.
Wow, you actually hand wrote that font? That's impressive.
I should have included that in the article.
Well done, Michael.
Makes mine look poopy though.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't. Okay. Ah, my voice is getting tired. I'm debating right now. How annoyed do you think people would be if I only did that one article and then went right to security bits? It's a 55-minute security bits.
Well,
next week we're going to be out of town.
Yeah. You know
Recording.
the article you just did on Calligrapher?
Yeah.
That would be the only one. And you have, yeah.
I have a thing by Caleb, and I have a really long interview with Mark Poley.
Sitting in the wings. Either of
Yeah,
them
40 minutes.
Time critical?
No, not really.
How about the tiny I guess tiny tips wouldn't be either.
Maybe what I'll do, I could put Caleb in today instead. Caleb's review is 6 minutes.
Okay. Whereas
That means I'm going to mess up the show notes, doesn't it?
Well,
what do you think?
We can redo the show notes. Right?
What you mean we, Kimosabi?
The royal we.
All right, I'm going to copy it out of there. We got to make sure I do the. Oh, but I didn't post his. Did I? Can you search for Caleb's? Did I post his thing? I did about the keyboard, didn't I?
I don't recall it.
I did.
How recently?
Yeah, it was back in May.
Oh.
I should do that. I should definitely do that.
Let me make. Oh yes, the Keychron K6 wireless.
Yeah.
You didn't do that earlier, huh?
No, I definitely did not because I've been saving it.
All right.
Number 893 is next week, right? Okay. Tiny Mac tips. That's the solution.
Yeah, that one's it's getting old.
Yeah. I gotta go find it though.
It's on May 18th.
Yeah. So blog posts. Find a substitute for type styler that works. What is type styler? Sandy. Let's see. Oh, I know I can find it faster. That's so cool. Caleb. Oh, don't know Rose uses it. Are you asking for her? Okay, there it is. Make sure I fix this in actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to just go grab feeder and I'm going to erase everything I put in there just so I don't do it wrong. There you go. Okay. Hide that. She's making a decision about what to buy.
Yeah, iPad versus MacBook Air. iPad 12.9.
Oh.
Sounds to me like she's leaning iPad.
Likes
the weight.
What's a type styler though?
Sounds like it must be an app that runs on one but not the other.
Okay. I think the answer's the new M2 MacBook Air, don't you? So I got to delete this chapter. Let's see. Yeah. Delete. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, I got to change the title too. Ah! I better bring up feeder again because I'll screw that up. Why didn't it? Oh, that's weird. Okay, I'm just going to delete this entry. Delete. Remove. Yes, that's going to remove it forever. Okay. Boy, this is a lot of work to change my mind.
You haven't changed the blog post yet, I take it?
I have, but locally.
Got it.
What is Caleb's thing called now? It's called the
Keychron K6
keyboard
wireless mechanical keyboard.
By Caleb. All right. You're watching sausage getting made here.
Whew.
This is where I usually screw up.
It ain't pretty.
Yeah.
But it tastes good.
Yeah. The other thing is that saves my voice. I didn't hear a second copy, but it looks like I got it. All right. That's good to know. Okay, so now I need to move Caleb back into the previous folder so I don't try to do it again. Caleb, final, edited. Okay, there it is. See if Caleb introduces himself. .com and have some fun.
Hello, fellow Nosilla castaways. Originally, I was going to talk about the Wise Watch.
Okay. What is Caleb Fong's handle? He normally goes by Geeko Supremo. Next up, we've got a review by Caleb Fong, also known as Geeko Supremo in the Slack over at podfeed.com/Slack. Let's hear what he's going to talk about today. It's hot in here. podfeed.com/Slack. Let's hear what he's going to talk about today.
Hello, fellow Nosilla castaways. Originally, I was going to talk about the Wise Watch. But given the black eye that they've taken over security lately, I'll just say that the watch is fine for the price, but buyer beware of their security policy for the company. So what am I going to talk about? The Keychron K6 wireless mechanical keyboard. The problem to be solved. Trademarked. Well, maybe not. Mechanical.
I like that. All right, I'm going to tease that one.
Maybe not.
I think it should be trademarked. All right.
Build quality of these keyboards is top notch, and you will not be disappointed by the typing. It's a bit more expensive, but the build quality of these keyboards is top notch, and you will not be disappointed by the typing experience.
Well, thanks so much for that, Caleb. That sounds really cool. I love a clicky keyboard. I don't think I'm allowed to have one, though, on account of, podcasting. I would just be too tempted to type in the middle of a show that I'm recording, and then that would be bad. All right. Okay, and now save. I did. Grumpy. Let's do our pledge break. It's a quick one. Don't blink. All right. If you enjoy this week's show, or you've enjoyed the shows we produce here for a long time, please consider supporting the work we do here. If you're not into recurring costs, I get that. But you could always be like Christoph and go to podfeed.com/PayPal and do a single donation. Now, Christoph does take it up a notch, and he donates once a quarter, but you know what? You do you. You do what feels right for you. If it's not expensive, what? Talking about? That isn't what it said at all. It is not inexpensive to do these shows, so every dollar here and there really, really helps. Thanks again, Christoph, for your quarterly support. You rock. There we go. Security bits. Oh, I have something. I should play this for this. Okay, if we're good and we get done, I have a little recording of Steve for you. I'll have to go find it, though. Let's see. So let's see. Security bits Allison and security bits Bart. And you got to hear this.
Blink.
Well, it's that time.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, don't worry. I haven't aligned them yet. I just wanted to play Plink for you. So this one, Option T. Oh, you can select them both in Option T at the same time. Jill, did you know that? You probably don't care. I had them both selected and hit Option T. I've always hit one Option T and the other one Option T to split them. That is so exciting. Okay, I think that needs to be... Whoops. And this one, and they need to be slid over a little bit about right there, and then take that. Yeah. You know what I really want to see happen? I really want you to be able to select 2 tracks and do a split and have them both get split, not have to do them separately. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Boost Shots. How you doing today, Bart?
I am doing good, although I haven't mastered the art of controlling my body temperature. I was freezing, now I'm sweating. I'll be freezing again in a minute. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do a chapter mark.
And you haven't slid it over properly.
Right. But I got to get the chapter mark in before I forget.
Doesn't the mark move? Or does it move with it as you slide it?
No. The left side is... This
They're
side's
not aligned
fine.
with the intro.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm going to move them.
Oh, I see. Chapter mark goes ahead of the intro.
The chapter mark stays still. Let's see. You rock. You said to Kevin. I know, I don't pay attention. Nope. Not up enough. It's about there. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Boost Shots. How you doing today, Bart?
I am doing good, although I haven't mastered the art of controlling my body temperature. I was freezing, now I'm sweating. I'll be freezing again in a minute. Yeah.
I live that way. You know, Steve always said, if you ever get hot flashes, how would I know? Because I am always too hot. Well, we've talked about this with the temperature controls on the Tesla being on screen is really bad for me because I am constantly up a degree, down a degree, up a degree, down a degree. I'm tapping it all the time.
I put it at 20.5 the day the car arrived, and I don't know where it is. I actually don't know where I would find the button. I put it at that number, and it seems fine.
Oh, very good. Well, let's kick into some security stuff here, shall we?
We shall, although you don't have to worry too much about not distracting me because they're very short show notes.
Oh, they really are.
Yeah, it's the silly season, right? I keep forgetting it's June because it's such a weird year. How are they?
Okay. I will give you a plink, but hang on. We got to finish this.
Secure, which is way, way safer. So say patch so you stay secure.
All right. How many chapter marks should I have, Steve, if you got any idea?
Let me take a peek here.
It should have conserved.
Yes. Okay.
I think it's...
I got 6.
6?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're right.
Good.
I mean, I shouldn't sound so surprised.
Yeah.
You're the one who can count. That's not what I want. Oh, that's funny. I forgot I read this one live. Okay, here we go. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Next week, we will be recording from our son Kyle's house. We're going out to see he and his wife and our grandchildren who have moved away to Texas on us. And this is our first visit out there. So the acoustics will be different. The mic will be different, but we're still going to have a great show. Did you know you can email me any old time you want, Allison@podfeed.com, and I will probably even answer you. If you have a question or a suggestion for the show, send it on over. Maybe you want to do a review. You know I love those. Thank you so much to Caleb for doing exactly that. You can also follow me on Twitter at Podfeed. And if you want to join in the fun of the conversation, you can join our Slack community. I've mentioned it about 300 times this week at podfeed.com/Slack. And you can talk to not just me, but all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. If you can do a weekly donation, that would be fantastic. You can support the show by doing that at podfeed.com/Patreon, or you can be like Christoph and use a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Okay.
And that's a wrap.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
I
yet.
think that's all. That's all we
Nope.
want to hear.
Nope. Okay, as soon as I publish this, thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Okay, so we have a treat. Wait, not publish, export.
I think
What are
you're
you
building this up too much.
doing? Yes, I probably am. I wonder if anybody's guessed what it is. There it is.
Wow, this is a lot.
Oh, actually, do I have it? Did you give me your recording?
No,
I need your recording.
you told me I could get rid of it.
No, I most definitely did not tell you you could get rid of it. I told you
Let me
you had to
see.
hold on to it until I found out whether I needed it.
Where does it keep those?
Wherever you told the audio hijack, it's probably in music/audio hijack.
Really?
Yes, it's chicken tonight, Frank. You know it's chicken. It's Saturday. It's Sunday night. I deserve a treat. Ew. Steve, are you going to give it to me?
Okay, it's huge.
Yeah, let's put it on my desktop.
Okay, it's like over half a gigabyte.
Oh, poor baby. You know, do you want to know how big? Let's see how big my chit chat folder is right now. Wait, that's not right. It only says 680 megabytes.
You want it right on your desktop. All right?
Oh no, that was one file.
Here she comes.
Sorry. Yeah. My chit chat folder alone is 7.27 gigabytes.
All right, it's there.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I need this. Let's see.
You
I'm
just
gonna
took it,
change
right?
That. Yeah.
Okay.
So now you actually don't have to keep it now. This is 14 from Steve. Okay, here we go. I'm going to just stick it here for a second. We got to make sure we get rid of it. But are you ready? Is everybody listening? Hopefully this worked.
Are you sure
Ready?
that's going to play what you think it is?
I think so. Oh no!
I don't hear anything.
You didn't record it, Steve. You didn't catch it.
Good.
For chit chat across. Yep, you didn't. Whoop. You didn't get it. Steve recorded his end and he recorded himself saying plink and he didn't catch it.
Conveniently didn't start it in time.
Steve, and you didn't even catch me at the beginning.
No, because you didn't
No
tell
treat.
me that you were going to start. I had to hit record immediately, very
I
quickly.
100% did tell you I was going to start. You're such a liar.
No.
Well, anyway, Steve, remember I mentioned at the beginning that we have a chit chat with Steve and Brian Hoffman? He made Steve do the plink at the beginning and he didn't keep it. You're going to get Seamus doing it though. So that one's fun.
Oh, that'll be good.
If I figure out what I did with Seamus. Where are Seamus's files? I'll have to go find those. All right. Oh, there's a latest novel from the author of The Martian. Oh, I love The Martian
Andy
author.
Weir?
Yeah. Alien says question instead of a question mark. Yes. All right. I think we're actually done.
Rocky.
I think
is
the show's done.
Alien.
Sorry?
Rocky. That's the alien in the latest
Yes.
book.
All right. If today is the 12th, I am ready. I think the show's over.
Today is the 12th.
Good. Well, I'm done.
Okay.
It's 5:49. Is it okay to let the class out early today,
It
Steve,
is.
since you wouldn't give them a...
They were very well behaved for the most
You
part.
could say plink for them. No?
Plink.
Yes, that was perfect. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Love you all. Bye, Rose. Mwah.